Hello and welcome back. In this video, we'll be showing you the evolution of Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the first Thor movie that came out in 2011, we see Thor in all his glory, in a complete set of armor, complete with a red cape, metal plates on his torso, there are chainmails on his arm, and during the coronation scene we even get to see him wearing a helmet, a winged helmet, just like the one in the comics. And then in the first Avengers film that came out in 2012, we get to see Thor appear again, but this time in a different set of armor, the second set of armor that we see. And in parts of the film we get to see him sleeveless without that chainmail armor on his arms, without a cape, but still having those large arm bracers on his arms. Next, in the second Thor movie, Thor the Dark World, that came out in 2013, we see a third set of armor, and Thor here has longer hair, and you can see that the vest here continues into a loincloth, so it's kind of different than the one previously, and sometimes he wears a cloak over the armor. And then in 2015, Thor appears again in the second Avengers movie, Avengers Age of Ultron. So here we see another set of armor. This time, most of the time, Thor is seen sleeveless without that chainmail over his arms, although it does appear occasionally. Next is the third Thor movie, Thor Ragnarok, that came out in 2017. This time it's a total departure from his previous looks. He wears a more simple armor, a gladiator armor, and he's got short hair and a painted face. This time the discs on his torso are lesser and they are gold instead of silver. He wears a shorter cape and the armor design is much more simpler. And during the gladiator fight scene we see him wearing a new winged helmet. At this point his hammer Mjolnir had been destroyed, so he is using some alternate weapons from Sakaar, such as this war hammer that actually belonged to Hulk and these twin blades. He also later unlocks his innate lightning abilities inside his body, and he loses his right eye that was cut out by Hela, and he later wears an eye patch resembling his father Odin. Next we're going to show you how Thor looks like in the latest two Avengers films, Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. So in 2018's Infinity War, after the destruction of Asgard in the previous film, we see him in a sort of space pirate look, a more modernized look with navy blue pants, black vest and short strapped leather gloves. But he wears his signature cape and chainmail armor later on in the film. He switches to his newly forged weapon, Stormbreaker, which is extremely powerful, and he loses his eye patch as he switches to a prosthetic eye that was given to him by Rocket Raccoon. And in 2019's Endgame, after the 5-year time skip, we see a depressed Thor who is drunk and has gained weight, and during the time heist mission he wears those matching quantum exploration suits worn by the surviving Avengers, and in the final battle he is back in armor, his long beard is braided, and he controls both of his weapons, Mjolnir and Stormbreaker. So here you can compare how he has changed so much throughout 7 different movies. And as a bonus, we show how there is always an obligatory shirtless scene in nearly every one of the films that he's in, just to show off Chris Hemsworth's chiseled body. There is always a reason to remove his shirt. But his best shirtless scene is definitely the one in Avengers Endgame. So we are done with his suits of armor, so next we are going to show you his casual clothing, what he wears on Earth. So as a powerless mortal in the first Thor 2011 movie, we get to see him in various outfits, various normal Earth clothes. And a fun fact, the blue shirt that belonged to Jane's ex, who is Dr. Donald Blake, In the comics, Dr. Donald Blake happens to be Thor's host on Earth, or his alter ego. And in Avengers Age of Ultron, we see him in a classy red coat during the party scene at the Avengers Tower. And in Thor Ragnarok, we see him in a jacket and hoodie underneath while he and Loki were searching for Odin on Earth. And there's also that scene in Avengers Endgame where he wears that hoodie. And not to forget that funny mockumentary that you can find online where he lives with his reluctant roommate named Daryl. And as a bonus, we can discuss some of the unused Thor concept art designs, the designs that didn't make it into the films, such as this one where we get to see some detachable seminal pieces that can come onto Thor's body in the first Thor movie. And here we see Thor the Dark World, where we get to see him in a furry coat. And in Thor Ragnarok, there's a different looking gladiator armor design, as you can see here. And for Avengers Infinity War, there are these really nice regal designs for King Thor, which I think are supposed to be before Thanos' attack on his ship. And there are some other sketches which I think are supposed to be post Thanos attack, where he's wandering the galaxy as a wanderer. Here we see him carrying what might be a different design for Stormbreaker, and here he's carrying a gun. And speaking of weapons, you should also know that there are many different designs for Mjolnir that didn't make it into the final cut. Also, there are still some other forms of Thor that we haven't shown you, such as Child Thor, as we see in the first film, and Fake Thor, who is a bank robber that Spider-Man stopped. And if you've watched Men in Black International, you'll realize that Chris Hemsworth's character in the film parodies Thor in a scene where he picks up a small hammer and throws it towards an alien. Fun fact here, actor Tom Hiddleston initially auditioned for the role of Thor, but he ended up getting the role of Loki instead. Here is part of his audition tape where he plays Thor. Another fun fact, Chris Hemsworth isn't the first actor to play Marvel's version of Thor. Actor Eric Allen Kramer played the God of Thunder in the 80s alongside the Incredible Hulk. So it's a recurring theme where Thor fights the Incredible Hulk. So about the future of Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a fourth Thor film has already been confirmed, where Chris Hemsworth will reprise his role as the God of Thunder in Thor Love and Thunder that is scheduled to come out in 2021. So Thor will be the first MCU character to get a fourth solo film. And Natalie Portman will also return as Jane Foster, and rumor has it she will wield the God of Thunder's powers just like in the comics, as it is hinted during the announcement where they showed Natalie Portman waving Mjolnir around. Thor might also make an appearance in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, as the ending of Avengers Endgame showed Thor joining the Guardians group as they prepare to take off from Earth, even jokingly dubbing the group as Guardians of the Galaxy. We are also curious to know the future of the Asgardians residing in New Asgard on Earth, with Valkyrie as their new ruler. And Thor's family story isn't over yet, as we still got that Loki series coming up, showing what happened to the surviving Loki from that alternate timeline in Endgame who took off with the Space Stone. So before we end the video, here are some silly memes for you.
Thor NATO, Thor real, Thor like 'em chunky. Junior year versus senior year. Maybe Thor is the adopted one.
So that's the end of our video. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and you can watch some of our other videos here by clicking the thumbnail on the screen. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.